Past weekend, during a daring raid, Israel rescued 4 hostages taken during the October 7th terrorist attack. The IDF just released video of this very dangerous operation. Take a look at this. A very courageous, serious, complex military operation. But over there on fake news CNN, one banner called it, quote, a hostage release? No, that would be a rescue. Keep in mind, that is a network that's supposed to host the upcoming presidential debate. So can fake Jake Tapper and Dana Bash really be objected or trusted? No, they're liberal talk show hosts. They're not journalists as they claim to be. Also, Vice President Harris, she mourned the Palestinians, quote, tragically killed during the raid and called for an end to the war, playing, of course, to her extremist left-wing base, which showed up in full force this weekend in front of the White House and promptly started vandalizing monuments in Lafayette Square, reportedly screaming at police and Secret Service and demanding the elimination of the State of Israel. Now, Secret Service agents, were told to kill themselves, and there was a lot of F the police's released from some of these radicals. And by the way, they were forced to retreat from the insane mob. Anyway, here with reaction, former senior aide to President Trump, Stephen Miller, and from the Lawfare Project, Brooke Goldstein is with us. The people that are responsible for the murder of 1,200, Brooke, the people that took all of these Israelis and Americans hostage, and Israel bravely is risking lives to go save the lives of people. I argue that every death of every Palestinian, that blood is on the hands of Hamas that started this war, that killed these Israelis, the worst terror attack in their history. And it's miraculous that they got these 4 hostages, and that would be called a rescue, not a release. Your reaction?
Well, Sean, it's great to be here with you again tonight, and I want to say that you are absolutely correct. Under the laws of armed conflict, it is Hamas, a terrorist group that is responsible for the death of civilians, both Israeli civilians and Palestinian civilians. But you have to ask yourself, knowing what is happening in this war right now, at what point under the laws of armed conflict do you lose your civilian status? Because let us not forget that it was over 2,000 Gazan civilians that broke into Israel on October the 7th. It was the Gazan civilians, along with Hamas, that tortured, that raped, that murdered, that burned Israeli civilian babies alive. It was Gazan civilians that then took Israeli civilians as hostages, that kept them, tortured them, were paid by Hamas to keep them, used them as sex slaves. At what point do you lose your civilian status? Being a civilian is not an affirmative defense to murder. Civilians do murder other civilians, and you best be sure that no matter what you call yourself, if you kidnap and murder Israeli civilians, the IDF will rightly hold you accountable.
Yeah, and it's sort of like that coastal elitist, Hollywood leftist George Clooney and his wife literally wanting Bibi Netanyahu to be brought up on war crimes as he's literally trying to defend his own country from radical Islamic terrorists. How people lack that moral clarity, Stephen Miller, I will never for the life of me understand. Israel has the right to self-determination, to defend their country from a group that has in their charter a call for Israel's destruction. What would have been 40,000 dead Americans in a day based on their population. And then you have, jackass asshole actors like George Clooney and his wife going after the prime minister for trying to preserve their country? Really? Well, you know, where is your moral compass, Mr. Clooney? Although, Mr., I'm being a bit too polite.
Well, there isn't one. Sean, there's no moral compass. The radical left in this country has decided that it's on the side of Hamas. It's as simple as that. Hamas is a genocidal terrorist organization, one of the most evil, vile, repugnant, repulsive organizations alive today or at any point in the history of humanity. They, as has been discussed, they rape, they butcher, they murder, they torture, they sexually enslave women and children, barbarians. But Joe Biden's Democrat Party is now playing for the pro-Hamas vote in this country. They're playing for whatever sliver of voters in this country they think is sympathetic to Hamas. Now, that's morally indefensible, Sean, but I would also say it's politically idiotic because for every pro-Hamas vote in this country, there's 20 voters, 30 voters who are as horrified and as appalled by the atrocities of Hamas as we are on this panel tonight. I believe Joe Biden will pay a dear price for cozying up to that segment of the U.S. electorate.
This is one of the saddest moments in U.S. history that not only did he abdicate America's role on the world stage as the leader of in the cause of liberty and freedom, but then he also surrendered in the war against radical Islamic terrorism by saying we're not going to help Israel defend against those people that attacked them on October 7th. You know, just the perfect bedfellow to raise money with George Clooney and his wife. Thank you both. Appreciate it. Coming up.